Today is April 6th, 2021. This is the 7-year mark of my dad passing away. So I thought I would tell a family story about him as a way to commemorate isn't the right word, but remember him, I guess. And it involves, the story is about him and his brother and my grandfather. And it involves this rifle. So this rifle is a Remington model 03A3 that was made in 1943. This is a World War II surplus rifle, chambered in .30-06. My grandfather purchased it after he had served in the war. Flash forward from 1943 to 1955. My father, Joe, was 12 years old, and my uncle, Tony, was 8 years old. And their father's, my grandfather's, birthday was coming up. And they were trying to figure out what to get him for his birthday. And he'd been talking about taking his 03A3 and sporterizing it. Now that means making the barrel shorter, turning it down, making it more of a sporting rifle instead of a surplus army rifle. But he had never done it. So my father concocted with his 8-year-old brother to sporterize Dad's stock Remington 03A3. They lived in Brooklyn, New York, in tenement buildings. And they looked up in the phone book a machine shop that would be willing to sporterize an 03A3. And now I talked to my uncle last night, and he said to me, I don't remember which borough it was in, but it definitely wasn't in Brooklyn. So they found a time to go to this machine shop, and they managed to sneak out of the house without telling either parent the 03A3, and proceeded to get on the subway at ages 12 and 8 with the rifle and go from Brooklyn to whichever borough the machine shop happened to be in. Tony tells me that they didn't get any sideways glances. He didn't really notice anyone looking at him strange, and no one questioned him. I imagine that no one was willing to question two children with a World War II rifle on the subway. It was a different time back then. Upon arriving at the machine shop, the guy told them it would take about a week to get done. And they brought with them a front sight post, which he attached. He turned the barrel down and shortened it. They ordered themselves and they put some Lyman sights on the rifle. They ordered themselves a wooden stock, which they managed to get without their parents knowing. And when they received the rifle back from the machinist, they realized that it was no longer blued because the barrel had been turned down. So they had to figure out how to blue this rifle by themselves. And they knew that they had to heat the barrel up to something like 90 degrees. Their dad was a research chemist at Pfizer, and so they had lots of chemistry type equipment at the house. So they took rubber tubing, attached one end of the barrel of the rifle and the other end of the shower head, and ran hot water through it until it heated up enough. And then they blued it. Tony told me the bluing had to sit for about an hour, and he said it felt like it was 5 days because they were doing this without their parents home. Well, their dad's birthday came, and they went and they got the rifle out of the closet. It's as if it had never left. And they handed it to their father in its case. And he looked at them as if to say, what is this? He expected a drawing or a picture or something small. And they said, open it up. So he opened the rifle case and he looked at them and said, did you get me a new gun? And they said, no, Pops, that's your rifle. And my grandfather looked at them and said, how the hell did you manage to do that? And I guess he said, next time you want to do something like that, tell me first. Not because he was upset about the rifle. He was super excited. He'd been talking about sporterizing the rifle forever. It more had everything to do with getting on the subway with a rifle and going to a machine shop in a different borough at 12 and 8. It was a different time back then. And my dad, I think, brought his brother along on this journey, and Tony was definitely a co-conspirator for sure, but the 12-year-old, I suspect, held more responsibility in this particular endeavor. It's an interesting story to me because it talks about a time that doesn't really exist anymore. It talks about American ingenuity. It talks about rugged individualism, the idea that these two kids figure out on their own how to take a stock rifle and turn it into something like this. It was a story I heard over and over again as a kid, and I hope I'm telling it right. It isn't exactly burned in my mind the way some things are, but the ideas are solidified. I mean, I've heard this story since I first saw this gun. How to end this video. I guess that's the hard part. This is a really hard day for me. Some days are easy and some are not. Thank you for watching. Always do the best you can with what you got. We'll see you around.